Okay guys, so this is part 2 of chapter 2 and we're going to cover mitosis and the cell cycle. By the end of this chapter you should be able to describe the cell cycle, including mitosis, and explain the purpose of mitosis, so the role in the formation of new cells and its importance in maintaining chromosome number during asexual reproduction. So this has nothing to do with making more people, nothing to do with sexual reproduction. This is only to do with growth and repair of the cells that work together to make you a human. And so mitosis and apoptosis, please have your notes open. Remember, you can pause them at any time. So cell division and death are required for normal growth and development. And they're opposites. So mitosis produces new cells by forming two new cells from one. And apoptosis is normal cell death that has to happen so that you don't get kind of overwhelmed with cells. If you would like, people usually ask me for what's the difference between apoptosis and necrosis. Necrosis is specifically cell death in response to an injury. So maybe you've had, you've been out in the cold and you've got frostbite, or you've got some kind of blood supply cut off and the cells start to die and the cells turn necrotic. If you want to go ahead and pause this and Google what necrotic tissue looks like, I have to warn you, it's pretty severe. But that's the difference. Apoptosis is normal. It's kind of a pre-programmed cell death, and it's the very opposite of mitosis, whereas necrosis is specifically in response to an injury. So they're opposites. One makes, the other destroys. If you look at this hand, you notice that two of the fingers are joined together. They're fused, and that actually happened in utero. So what happens is when you are being created as a human being inside of your mother's stomach, not stomach, but uterus, you get my point. You make a hand plate, and then apoptosis has to come in and it has to carve out all of in between so that you wind up having fingers instead of, so it comes in and it kills all the cells in between, and clearly it didn't do its job right here, so that's why they're fused. I'm not going to show you guys that. So the cell cycle, there's three main phases of the cell cycle. Mitosis is not just the cell cycle, it's the second step in it. You have interphase where everything is doubled. You can't make a new cell without material to put into the new cell. So interphase is where you have DNA synthesis, the cytoplasm doubles, the organelles double, and then mitosis is specifically the nucleus and the DNA splitting. And then the last step is cytokinesis, where the rest of the cytoplasm splits and making the one cell into two cells. So the first step in making new cells is called interphase. Interphase is where everything gets ready. Like I just said, structures are doubled in preparation to divide. You have to have twice the amount of material to put into the new cell. So it prepares for mitosis is what interphase does. I wanted to point out that the nucleolus is very, very visible in this stage. The nucleolus is right here because DNA is being synthesized and that's where it happens, so it gets very dark. So the first stage is interphase, then you hit mitosis, then you hit cytokinesis. So during interphase, bottom line, you got DNA replication happening. So it's right here, DNA replication. So all these chromosomes, instead of 46 of them, you're going to have 92 at the end because that's what it's doing. What I'd like you guys to copy is actually what a chromatid, so when it replicates, when the chromosomes replicate, it produces a chromatid. A chromatid, all it is an identical copy of what was there. So there are four phases of mitosis that people usually remember. So it's PMAT, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. And people usually remember it from bio as PMET, so PMAT. You can remember it as Paco made a taco. You can remember it as pretty much a team, or you can just remember it as straight out PMAT. So prophase is the first, then metaphase, then anaphase, then telophase. Kind of in your head, figure out which one you want to remember, the order. So let's get right through. Prophase is where the DNA coils tighter and tighter. You've got a ton of stuff crammed in the cell right now. Everything is all crammed together. And the DNA coils tighter and tighter in order to make it short and fat. It's easier to separate something that's short and fat than it is really long and stringy. So that is what happens during prophase. You've got 92 chromosomes sitting there right now. Then you hit, so chromosomes are short and fat. Then you hit metaphase. Meta always refers to middle. If I say anything is meta, it refers to it being in the middle. And if you see, this is the metaphase plate, and what the chromosomes are all doing is they're lining up, just like the elephants that I have down here. It's easy to separate the two sides. So if you look, this one's going to go this way, and this half's going to go this way in order to create the new cell. So it lines up in the middle, is what they do. So chromosomes are lined in the middle. Anaphase is where the chromosomes start to be pulled to the opposite ends of the cell. Every time I see this cookie, it makes me hungry. But if you look, see, that's what's happening with the chromosomes. They're being yanked to opposite sides. So these are going this way, and these are coming this way. So anaphase is where they're starting to pull apart. So chromosomes divide. And telophase is where they kind of continue until they're at opposite ends of the cell. You look at what the chromosomes are doing here. You can see right here and right here, and you can see this starting to make the two new cells. The last phase is where cytokinesis is going to physically separate them. But telophase, if you look, this is clearly in telophase because you can see the cell starting to, getting ready to split. So chromosomes are at the ends. Telo refers to end. So, hang on a second. Telo is end. So that's how you remember that one. And here's mitosis. This is prophase. Prophase, everything's crammed together. You see they're all squiggly lines crammed together. Metaphase, they're clearly lined up in a straight line. Anaphase is where they're starting to be separate. You're looking at the black chromosomes right here. And then telophase, you can see they're clearly into what's going to be forming two new cells. Cytokinesis is the last stage of the cell cycle. It happens after mitosis is completely done. Remember, mitosis is splitting the nucleus. It's where the cytoplasm divides, making one cell into two. So, I think I'm going to stop there, and I'll get through the next part in another YouTube video.